It should come at absolutely no surprise that I love unique everyday carry items, and I have a bunch of cool ones to show you today. So because there are so many, we're not going to waste any more time. Let's get started. Now, pens are not an obscure category of everyday carry gear, but when you find one that has some unique properties, it's always worth mentioning. And it's especially true if you have an opportunity to get a discount on it because it's on Kickstarter. So Silver Fox is currently running a Kickstarter for this pen right here. Now they're already fully funded, but they have a few days left. And I wanted to specifically point out this pen because it is tiny. And yet at the same time, because of the magnetic attachment on the tail, it actually extends the length of the pen substantially and makes it pretty comfortable to use. To put it in perspective, okay, let's take a look at some compact pens that are already very familiar to people, like the Fisher Space Pen Bullet. This is actually a smaller pen than the Fisher Space Pen. That gives you an idea, and it has a much better clip, and I really like the construction. It's just really well done. It's even shorter, if that's even possible, than the Mini Expands pen, which is nuts. Practically the same length, or about the same length, closed up as the Big Idea Designs mini pen, but it also is quite a bit longer, which is important for comfort when you're using it actually as a pen. I think this thing is absolutely sweet. Now, this is a titanium pen, so as you can imagine, these are not going to be cheap. So if you are in the market for a very tiny and very nice pen, this might be an option. Now, it comes with a Lamy insert, so there aren't many small refills that will work for this type of pen, but the Lamy is a good one because it actually has a huge vat. It has a large amount of ink in a very small package. So it's perfect for this type of pen. And they did a really good job with the overall finishing of it. I mean, everything from the knurling to the little grooves for putting your fingers on. You can choke up on the tip if you want to when you're using it. I really like this pen. I really do. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I do. And I even like the way the clip sits in reverse when you have this. So regardless of whether you grip it here or here, it actually works quite well. It's not my favorite insert of all time, but I can't imagine using any other for this size pen. So overall, it's definitely worth consideration. I will put a link to that Kickstarter down below if you want to get in on it before it goes to full production. We're going to talk about the Batman utility belt. Oh, I mean the fixed manufacturing belts and their accompanying tools. I have known about these for a long time, but for whatever reason, I kind of forgot. And that's a little bit easy to do because they cater primarily to a select genre of different sports. So snowboarding, skiing, biking, skateboarding, and so on. And you don't really see them advertising outside of those genres. So this might have gone under the radar for a really long time. I hope that changes with this video because these are awesome, like seriously awesome. So we'll start by getting rid of one of these from the lineup. This is a standalone. It doesn't work with the belt system. They don't specify that. I wish they were more clear about it, but this is specifically for, what am I doing? I can't remember which ones are which. This one is for surfing, right? This is the surfing variation. It has a bunch of different tools to help with maintaining your board. It has a flathead. It has a couple of different file situations. You can drill some holes with it. It also has a Phillips head driver, and then it has a scraper for the wax, among other things. So it is a very cool tool. It does fit in a fifth pocket of a pair of jeans, and it's not that expensive either. So cool frame. It even has a bottle opener on the back. It's worth noting because by itself it's cool, but it is nowhere near as versatile as the other ones because they work with the belt system. So we're going to put this one aside for the time being, but I want to make it clear that this is currently available. So there we go. The other four all work with both variations of their belts. And I'm going to say that at the beginning because their website, I don't know how to say this nicely. It's not good. It's not only not good, it's so frustrating. I can see a lot of people going there and immediately leaving because they can't find anything. Which is a shame because their products are absolutely awesome. And they have something really unique here that should be expanded on. All right, yes, 2 belts, 4 different tools that work, if you can find them. I'll try my best to identify what they are, so maybe you can use this as a reference for what to look for. So you start with the belt setup. So this is the newer of the 2. It is an elastic belt, and it just basically, once you get adjusted, you slide this on, and then you have it ready to go. For their original idea of working with these active sports, this actually makes a little bit more sense because it allows for a lot more movement, right, with the body. And I also found with having spring tension on both sides, it seems to hold some of these tools a little bit more securely than this, just slightly, specifically with this variation, because it's a little bit narrower here. So this one inside this belt is not quite as secure as these other 3. So keeping that in mind. So if you like a elastic belt, this is definitely the one for you, and it will fit all 4 of the implements. Now, for me personally, I much prefer the other variation. It has a solid webbing belt that is really well designed, I have to say, and incredibly secure. So once I have this locked down, it does not move at all. Like really, really secure. The clip is super, super strong. And yeah, let me just quickly show you. So this flips up like so. It comes around, you sit it in, and then once it's inside, you simply press down. And like when I say strong, I mean it is like ridiculously strong. So I really, really like it. It's even more secure than my Wazoo cash belt. That's how strong the clip is. I really think they've done a good job with it. Okay, so there's the belt function. Now let's get to the cool part. All of these little implements that you can stick inside. I am not going to remember the names off the top of my head, so as we go, I will post the listing so you can see them and the pricing and so on. Okay, so there are 2 variations that are very much specific to the genre that they were designed for. So I believe this one right here, I want to say is for snowboarders. I'm probably going to be wrong about that. Oh no, this is for skateboarders. I can tell because I can see the little piece right here that will definitely indicate that. And it's cool. It's definitely a cool one, but not a lot of implements inside. So unless you're specifically looking for something for skateboarding, I would probably skip it because there are better options. They are, however, quite inexpensive. So maybe you want to check them all out. The other one here, now this one I believe is for snowboarders. I want to say it's for snowboarders. I find this to be a much more practical general use tool. Now all of these come with a cover plate that also contains additional tools. And this one, and they lock in right here on these tabs. Let me get this out. Whoa, there we go. This one actually has magnets as well. This has a scraper, which I really like, and it has a couple of other features specific to the genre it was designed for, right? We have a number 3 Phillips, number 2 Phillips. We have a 4mm and slotted along with the file. And I really like this file. This file is sweet. It's nice and aggressive. It has 2 different grits. And yeah, cool. And it's heat treated correctly. It's nice and hard, as it should be. So, cool version. I like it, but I'm going to move on because the other 2 are just so good at general purpose, which is what most of the people watching are going to be interested in. This is called the wheelie wrench. Now, I believe this is specifically designed for bikes, like mountain bikes and so on. But my goodness, it doesn't have to be. Look at the tool set on this. It's so good. We have 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2.5 and 2mm hex wrench. Then you also have a T25, T10, a number 2 Phillips, and a slotted. I mean, that's a great combination, right? And this can easily fit into a 5th pocket of any pair of jeans. It's a very compact screwdriver. And because you can either use it inline like this, or you can use it at 90 degrees, you actually get a lot of torque on this thing. And they're not expensive, which is even better. So whether you're just getting this by itself or with the belt, this is a really, really slick little system. Even has a little tire, what do you call it, pry tool thing. And there's a slot for a bottle opener and so on. This is a very well designed piece. And they market it for bikers, but my goodness, it's a hell of a lot more useful than just that. They need to expand their marketing approach because, frankly, this is a tool that a lot of people could get use out of. And just having it on your belt? Come on. Who doesn't want to be Batman? Seriously. Now, speaking of Batman, this one being all black kind of fits the theme a little bit better. This, God, I cannot remember. I think it's the most recent one other than this that they have made. It has a pry tool, which I like, with a nail puller, bottle opener, flathead, number 2, number 3 Phillips, universal wrench, and a hex bit driver. Now, hex bit driver is like a stretch. Now, you can definitely put a hex bit in there and use it to turn that hex bit, but it's not going to offer a lot of retention. So just keep that in mind. It's technically possible. It's just not ideal. But even without that, the tool set it already comes with is very, very good. Now, when you use it with the large belt, first of all, it looks amazing with the black on black. It still holds in pretty securely. And I'm pushing it in the direction of the easiest way it could come out, right? And it's still holding on. And it's going to be sitting like this. There's no way it's coming out. You would have to be, well, you'd have to be in big trouble for that to remove. But if you actually compare it with the wheelie wrench, which has a little bit wider setup, this actually goes in incredibly well, and it is very little to no movement whatsoever. This setup actually with all of these tools means you don't have to carry a bit kit. If you had a folding knife, right? This is like a screwdriver set on your belt, or it is your belt. It's not on your belt. It is your belt. I mean, that is just super cool. I don't know. I'm geeking out over this. You know, as you can imagine, I'm a big fan of hidden tools and gadgets, and this is just very, very practical and done incredibly well, in my opinion. All right, there's also a bottle opener I probably didn't mention on the frame of the buckle as well. The other belt has 2 springs, and I think it was initially designed specifically for this one right here. And so it does secure very, very well with that, but it will also take the wheelie wrench. It's just a little bit more difficult to get in there, but it does absolutely take that. And it will also take the other 2 as well. This information, unfortunately, was not clearly stated anywhere ever. Like, they don't do a good job conveying what works with what. And so I clearly have to take the lead on this one. And I'm going to apologize for them. When you go to their website, it's very confusing to find the right combination of belt and tool. And I think that's the only thing really holding this company back. It's not their product. Their product's sweet, but man, their website and their marketing is very confusing. There's a huge opportunity with this product. Huge, huge opportunity. And they are not taking full advantage. I hope you guys see this and you see the potential I do, because I really, really do. This is just the beginning of potential implements that could be fitting inside this buckle. And I like the original quite a bit. I want to see more. In fact, I like this system so much, and the fact that there is actually a screw holding these together, I will likely modify a few of them to include a lot more tools that are currently not present. I'm thinking that the Leatherman Micra implements will fit perfectly in here with almost no modification whatsoever. So when you put that into it, well, now we can play with it and we have a lot more options. So I bought these a long time ago. I think it was like the earlier Prime Day, not the one that's in October, but the one that was in, I think, June. And I never got around to reviewing them because they're just more novelty than anything else, but they're still very, very, very cool. The first one is this right here. So it's a steel handle, and it is an OFT, and it uses a scalpel blade. So this is a number 24 scalpel blade. It comes with a whole bunch more scalpel blades. It's just a cool item. Not particularly practical. It's also too heavy, I think, to ever go on a keychain. It's just neat. But unlike that one, this one actually makes a lot more sense. It's significantly lighter because it has aluminum body. It has a pretty decent switch on top of everything else. And even the pocket clip isn't even that bad. So check this out. So we have the large sized scalpel blade. These are a little bit flexible for a lot of tasks, but the action is great on this. And it is just a blast. Now I say that as it fails on me. So these are not like super premium OFTs. Let's be real, okay? They're fun, they're novelties. If they do click out or that you don't get a full lockout, you can just pull the blade out completely. It'll then lock in place and then you're ready to rock and roll. The same thing happens if you hit, like I just hit the table on purpose. What you do is you pull it all the way out. Now it's locked in place and it continues to work. But these are neat. These are neat. And this one actually has a decent clip. I like the size of it. I can't think of a reason why I would carry it, but I'm actually not upset with buying it because it functions surprisingly well. What do you guys think? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on whether these are even practical in nature in any way. So let's put that right there. Now the last two we're going to talk about, these are a bit more practical, but the size of them, I don't know. I think they're more for fun than anything else. So we have, and this I think amplifies this a little bit more. This is kind of in that dessert warrior finish with the little sprinkles. It has really nice traction here on the other side. And we have a standard utility blade OFT. They sound cool. They work really, really well. I saw a bunch of these at Blade Show at a bunch of the other stalls. They were selling them for quite a bit more than I paid for these. And I found them on Amazon. I'll put a listing below. There are a lot of different brands that sell these things. You know, they're made by an OEM and then a bunch of people stick their brand name on it and then they sell them, okay? So really interesting versions of this tool. Pretty straightforward, simple way to actuate the lock. Just press that out like that. And then you could slide these back in. Oh, I'm trying to do it through a viewfinder. Here we go. Boom, and that locks in. Very cool. I mean, they're a little bit big. You can see they're pretty substantial in size. But are they fun? Absolutely. And unlike the scalpel blades, a utility knife blade is quite a bit more useful. It's a lot more rigid. So you're going to be able to do cuts with it that you wouldn't be able to do with a scalpel blade, which are just, they're far too flexible. But being flexible is actually part of the reason that they exist. They need to be flexible for the types of cuts that they're designed for. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on these, both in the coloration and in just the general overall design. I actually find these to be pretty darn fun. I think they'll probably end up just as giveaway items if I can. You know, these are this sort of touchy subject because they're technically an automatic, but overall a really, really interesting genre. And you can find these all over the place, whether it's AliExpress, Amazon. Yeah, just really neat. Speaking of neat, now I saw this reviewed in a really, really cool video from Knife Center where they actually compared all of the utility knives on the market. And they found that this one scored at almost the top of that category. And I kind of have to agree with them. Number one, you have a quick deploy for the blade. So you can just grab the blade and stick it, take it out. You don't have to use any tools. And that's not always true with a lot of these things. Also, because it has a bottle opener, you're more likely to get it into places because you could say, oh, it's just a folding bottle opener, which is exactly what it is, right? Without a blade, that's exactly what this is. It's just a bottle opener. In addition to the bottle opener, we have a flathead here, which also could be used as a pry. You have a Phillips on the other side. And when the blade is in, put that back in, close this up, you actually have a little line cutter as well. So it's not going to be great. It's not going to work as a seatbelt cutter. It will not. Let me explain. If there's too much gap on either side of the blade, there's nothing to force it in there, and then the seatbelt doesn't work. So please don't say it is. But other than that, it is a pretty cool little design and actually quite comfortable. I've covered the $10 version of it, which is a smaller slide. And I actually like this one a little bit better. It runs around that $15 price point and a decent option, I gotta say, for a pocketable everyday carry utility knife. It is tip down carry, so, you know, just be aware of that. But otherwise, I like it. Curious to hear your thoughts down in the comments. I had a lot of questions directed at me about the E1. Now, I covered this briefly when I went to SHOT Show in January of 2024. And I'll be real with you, it's not my thing. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, I find the blade to be humorously small, and because it has that huge tab, something that is also present on the Gerber lockdown, there's very little useful space on this, and it doesn't lock. So it doesn't lock, doesn't have a strong detent. It's definitely not my thing. On the positive note, it actually stands proud of the frame, and you can actually access it. On the other side, we have a small can opener that also has this very interesting little chisel scraper on the side as well. Once again, slip joint, no non-locking. We have a scalpel holder as well. I'm sorry, this is a craft blade holder. This part I actually really do like about it because you're only going to do draw cuts anyway. So I like that a lot. And then we also have the bit driver. Now this is what really got people interested, and people were really curious about it because these are exactly what you think they are. They are a variation of the Leatherman flat bits. They make an entire kit of bits, in fact. And here's what they haven't yet told you. The hardness on these bits is actually higher than the ones on the Leatherman. They might even last a little bit longer. They're working on developing more bit types that'll work. And yes, they absolutely do work in Leatherman's bit holder as well. And they kind of work back and forth. The Leatherman, this will take a Leatherman bit, and then theirs will take the Nextool bits. And actually, this does a good thing for Leatherman because they have a hard time keeping those things in stock, and you have to have the tool in the first place to utilize the bits. So in many ways, Nextool has done Leatherman a huge favor in kind of taking on this flat design. The more companies, in fact, that do that, the better the Leatherman seems. And I've picked on them in the past for not having access to those bits pretty much anywhere. So the more companies that offer them, the better the Leatherman becomes, which I find particularly funny. You know, that's just, I find it ironic. Now, on the other side, we have a few other tools that are worth noting. We have this file. Here's the cutout right here. The file is, as you'd expect, absolute hot garbage. It's bad on both the crosscut and the straight cut, and I think straight cut files on any multi-tool is absolutely stupid. That's just my thoughts. But the scissor is excellent. So the scissor is very, very good. I like the angle of the scissor. It kind of keeps things away. I like the spring tension on it. I think it does really, really well. And it does have a really sharp edge. It cuts very, very, very well indeed. I'm not actually going to show the proper testing, but you know what? Here, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and show you on the end of this thing right here. That's 2 pieces of paracord and it goes straight through. No problem. This scissor handles very well. It's a nice, it has almost no play in it, and it has a screw in case you need to adjust it or take it apart for sharpening. So all of these things are great. I like it. It's good. Other than that, this is not the tool for me, and it's not a tool I would necessarily recommend. But is it a cool one that it exists? Absolutely. And it's another tool in their lineup that utilizes this flat bit system, which is inevitably good for the multi-tool market in general. So I like that they're doing it in the sense that they have this flat bit holder, and I like the scalpel blade, I like the scissors, but that's kind of where it ends. I guess also the pocket clip is done really well, so there's that. Overall though, the E1, it's a give and take. If I might be very wrong about this, you might find that this is perfect for you. And if you do, please let me know down in the comments. Your reasoning is going to be valuable for me in the future. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the other items we have on the table. I haven't talked about this thing, and I got it at Blade Show Atlanta. So I apologize to Vero Engineering for not covering this, but this thing is so cool. It is still available, and it gives Vero a chance to offer really cool implements and tools at a reduced price and have plenty of stock. I love what they're doing here. Now, it might look like it's a weak design, but there's actually a metal rod that goes all the way into this. This thing is actually very, very, very stable. And what they did, most likely, is they printed it a certain distance, and then well, actually, it looks like it's 2 pieces. They actually inserted a metal collar that holds a 4mm bit inside the plastic and then sealed it in. So this is actually quite a bit stronger than you would expect. You can palm it, you can, use it in a bunch of different ways. They have a titanium version as well. But honestly, I kind of like the plastic one a little bit more. I got to play with the metal version, And yeah, this one is great. This one is absolutely great. And it's like a collaboration with another one of my favorite companies, which is Arc Company, who made this little nylon pouch, also here in the US. And this is just so good. So Vero came up with an idea to have a very compact 4mm bit kit that allows people to easily access. You just press down on the end and then you can lift it up and then you're good to rock and roll. I really, really like this little holder. 3D printed in place, one piece, just shows the design chops of Joseph Paul Vero. Like what an absolutely phenomenal design. And the fact that it comes in a little kit like this, and there's even some space for additional bits if you want. It's a compact and light screwdriver setup to maintain knives and other products as well. Overall, well done. I will leave a link to this directly to Vero's website, and they should be in stock because they're able to make them in-house. How cool is that? The next one is a carabiner from Mecarmy. Now this is not only a carabiner, it is a screwdriver. So inside this little door, which is held in by a ball detent, and this is all titanium, by the way, are 3 double-sided 4mm bits. So we have a T6 and T8. We have a, let's see, it says H1.5 and H2. And then we also have our number 0 Phillips and a 3.5mm slotted as well. So a nice little combination, and worth noting that there are plenty of drivers on Amazon right now that use these double-sided bit systems. So if you needed replacements, you can certainly find them. I reviewed one recently that was only about $8 and came with 6 double-sided bits, some with Phillips or some with Torx. So if you needed, you could easily find replacements, which is great. This will not work with 4mm standard bits like the Weehaw, because it has a little collar down by the magnet, which will prevent it from coming in contact, so the bits will fall out. So yes, technically you could use it, but you have to be aware that the bit will fall out if you're not holding onto it. The same thing is true with this side hole. It will let you get extra torque, but real talk here, you shouldn't be doing that because these bits are not really strong enough to apply too much torque. You will damage them. So just keep that in mind. It's there, I don't recommend it. The important thing is that it has an inline driver here that has a proper detent, and you can actually use it to unscrew and screw things together when you don't have like a full screwdriver on hand. Now, as far as a carabiner is concerned, my big qualm here is that this is a lot of space taken up, right? Let me put that down there. This is a lot of space taken up by the mechanism. So when you're actually dangling your keys, you're going to need yet another key ring that's attached down here. The key ring probably wouldn't go inside this little section because there's just too much hanging down below. So you would attach your key ring here, put your keys on it, and then you have your screwdriver. But if you do that, it's going to be awkward to use as a screwdriver. So that's where it kind of gives me like a question mark. I'm not actually sure if this makes sense or not. And hopefully you guys can help me down in the comments. Do you think this is something you would consider? I will also, of course, list the link so you can check the price as well, current price of it. The construction is really good. We have an all titanium build, and they've done a good job. Mecarmy is well known for making titanium tools, and hey, you know what? Different design, like nothing I've seen thus far. And anytime that's the case, it's at least worth showing. Let me know down below, though, if this is for you. I'm really curious. All right, let's close things out. There are some really cool items on the table. Of the things we've shown, my favorite by a long shot is the fixed manufacturing belt system. The potential is enormous. And if they expand their marketing approach, maybe even improve their website a little bit, I absolutely see this taking off and being a very, very popular system for people who like to have tools on hand, right? I really do. And the fact that there are 2 different belts for different users, they have basically everything they need to be successful. In addition to that, we have the very tiny titanium pen from Silver Fox, which I think is a phenomenal offering, and the awesome 3D printed designs from Vero Engineering and the pouch from Arc Company. I'm curious to hear what you think is your favorite down below. And if there's something else I should be checking out, let me know. As always, thank you guys so much for your time, and we'll talk again soon.